know this full well. And
of course they do. And I want to skip to, you know, with the time we've got, I've been writing again about the economics. I have an article out today that Ben Bernanke, in the time he's been in the Fed, which started in February 1, 2006, on December 12th, which is when they announced this QE4, another round of buying our own debt, that period of time from 2006 to December 12th, 2012, Bernanke doubled the amount of national debt. We went from $8.13 trillion to $16.4 trillion. And this is, again, another conscious process of destroying the United States. This QE4, quantitative easing 4, which is the economist term for it, means that we're going to be buying monthly $85 billion of our own treasury securities and mortgage-backed securities, which keeps interest rates artificially low, but is essentially creating so much liquidity that the dollar is becoming debased. And it's setting up the precondition for hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is now an inevitability. It's built into the system. And again, the economists know this because in the crisis of hyperinflation, crisis of all these mountains of debt, the Americans will give up freedom. They'll move into an international environment. They'll allow the...
And by the way, you worked in banking at the highest level, so again, you know, you are uniquely able to speak to this. What's the time frame? How bad is it going to get?
Well, it's going to get, first of all, we're going to be at a point where we may double again the national debt, not within, may not take us 6 years this time. We may do it within 3 or 4 years. Certainly we're going to be over $20 trillion by 2014. And when we get over $20 trillion, remember, our gross national product is under $16 trillion.
Unbelievable.
So by the end of 2014, which is in 2 years, when we're coming up with the next congressional election, I expect this to be in another economic crisis of hyperinflation. And this whole deal of fiscal cliff is a fiction. We went over the fiscal cliff a long time ago. This recent legislation did nothing to solve the fiscal crisis of the United States. We actually have more spending in the bill that was just passed in this emergency fashion. And the idea that people, again, lies were rampant. Obama was saying that, you know, no middle class taxes were going to be increased. 77% of Americans who pay taxes are going to have an increase because of the phasing out of the 2% relief that was granted on the FICA reductions on payroll taxes. That's going back in. So, you know, even though this lie was told, Obama will say, well, I didn't mean that. But people are still going to get smaller take-home pay, and they can judge for themselves whether they were lied to. The federal government lies to us regularly. The Obama now lies boldly and doesn't even get called for it by the mainstream media. And this whole idea of increasing our debt to a proportion that's unprecedented in the history of the world, you know, buying our own debt. I mean, you have to get your mind around the Treasury is issuing debt and we are buying it in the Federal Reserve. It's so insane. And at some point or other, you can't keep doing this. You can't keep printing money. This is just blatantly printing money. And the liquidity may boost the stock market, but eventually, like the Weimar Republic, you get into hyperinflation. And the authorities doing this, including Ben Bernanke, know that it is inevitable that they're going to debase the dollar. In fact, it's a plan to debase the dollar. You can't look at it any other way. Now, I sent in the links. I just published a book on Obama's plan to bankrupt the United States. And this goes to the Cloward-Piven theory. And I really think it's critical people understand what the Cloward...
And we're going to put your new book up, and we've been showing WorldNet Daily and the information. In fact, I want to get this book. I haven't read it yet. We've carried your other books, but I know this is going to be powerful because I know their game plan as well. And what's incredible is, and I know you know about this, you've written about it, they brag that they're bankrupting us. Communist Don't bankrupt things on accident. We always say communists are bad managers and, quote, things don't work. Because of the incredible production of the last 100 years and science, even in a communist system, if it wasn't run by devils, it'd be horrible and it would be unfair, but everything wouldn't collapse. They collapsed Ukraine and Poland on purpose. This is not a secret. They collapsed China and killed between 60 and 80 million people, they debate the numbers, to radically transform forever. They understand you've got to break eggs to make an omelet. It's about the control, and so the goal is going well. More people in prison, more people on welfare, paying to ship General Motors to China. I mean, this is a plan, and I've read the review of your book. I know it breaks down where they say it's their plan. So explain to people, they're not, California, when they raise taxes over and over again, that's meant to bankrupt the state. I mean, explain this to people.
Cloward and Piven were two sociologists at Columbia when Obama was there, when Brzezinski was there. And their whole idea was that to destroy capitalism, you create social welfare programs, all the unemployment insurance, the Obama phones, the entire list of programs where the government is paying checks to people. And you build this system to the point where it is so huge, you've got to raise the tax base in order to pay these welfare payments, social welfare payments, entitlements, that the system collapses because the taxes destroy the economic activity, the tax base decreases, the system goes into bankruptcy, and then the Cloward and Piven, the sociologists, said that this is the time when we really have the opportunity to create a true socialist, read communist state, in which the principles of social justice, meaning destroying private property, destroying the family, having government control of every aspect of your life, having the bureaucrats make all decisions, including death panels on health insurance, 100% government control of all the means of production. This is what the communist dream has been. And the Cloward-Piven theory is a way to make the Democratic Party essentially advocate the socialist themes, welfare. We're trying to help you. We care about you. Want unemployment insurance. And then by putting the tax burden to these unreasonable levels, having debt go beyond the ability to pay the debt off, the system goes into bankruptcy, collapses, and in the ashes, out of the ashes is born a true socialist or communist state. That's the goal. That's Obama's.
And they're going to